I think the major takeaways were twofold. Typically, Shanghai Cooperation Organization talks in terms of security about controlling separatism, extremism, etc., etc. But this is the year of COVID, and therefore there was an emphasis on epidemic control, which is welcome because Shanghai Cooperation Organization needs to define its character and identity from a more broader, comprehensive security perspective. The other important point I thought was this is the 75th year of the founding of the United Nations, and so a look back at what the UN has achieved and therefore the principles of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which are based on UN principles, to kind of imbibe them and champion them for the next 75 years going forward.
And John Xu mentioned that they're expected to adopt this action plan. What do you expect to see in that?
I expect them to broaden out their focus beyond just security. Of course, it will remain on extremism, separatism, and terrorism. But beyond that, to really tackle comprehensive security projects more broadly. You know, this year, because of COVID, we've gotten to realize the importance of digital connectivity. This is an area where there is going to be focus so that there is better digital information transmission between various countries, cooperation, and also information security is an important area which needs to be looked at. Of course, economic cooperation, trade and economic cooperation must also be focused upon, including the Belt and Road Initiative, because as I said, security doesn't capture comprehensive security per se, and these dimensions need to be brought into the organization's focus and agenda.
And you mentioned the pandemic. It's so interesting because all these countries are dealing with it and the economic challenges that go with it. But this is almost like a race, and everyone's starting the race at different times. China started it earlier, started to learn how to deal with the pandemic, COVID-19, and then also kind of the economy started to come back. So President Xi talking about this hotline, connecting the disease control and prevent centers across the breadth of this organization. Is that going to be important as well?
Yeah, oh yes, it is going to be important, and I think for the next year we shouldn't be. Yes, we've got good news on the vaccine front, but we shouldn't be imagining this is going away anywhere for the next 6 months, 8 months, for the next 12 months, and therefore this sort of coordination, both through the WHO and through regional organizations like the SCO and hotlines like this, are incredibly important. And I think COVID has also the importance of not just epidemic control, but having better legislation also so that public health can be mainstreamed. And this can be a dimension which adds greater richness and value to the organization, considering that the countries therein are at various stages of development, including in terms of their public health capabilities.
You mentioned the word richness, and I think about these virtual gatherings. They don't have the richness of you know, these face-to-face encounters where people can meet on the sidelines. And in many ways, you see some stuff being worked out. And China and India, we've talked about, they have their differences. And these are kind of delicate issues that sometimes can be addressed in the sidelines. Is it harder with a virtual gathering to really kind of make any headway?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It is harder, but there is scope to do so. Remember, you know, China and India have had their problem this year. It's been very serious, the border issue. When really did the ice-breaking begin? It began at the SCO Foreign Ministers Summit, I believe. I think it was in St. Petersburg or in Moscow. I think St. Petersburg, where the Indian and Chinese foreign ministers met and began the process. It's going slowly, but it's a process of de-escalation and disengagement. They met physically, face-to-face, and they were able to make progress. That has not happened because the leaders, Mr. Modi and President Xi, are meeting virtually. And so that obviously is a hindrance. But that said, I mean, there is still potential to have these bilateral discussions at some level, nevertheless.
Quickly, if you can, talk to us about challenges, opportunities in terms of the global order with the new President Biden, what that administration might present for the SCO.
I think look at it at the broadest level. SCO wants to champion multilateralism. It wants to champion UN values and the UN spirit. That is what President Biden is committed to. That although there's no direct connection between SCO and President Biden, these are values which will hold both America and the SCO in good stead.